Imagine the sheer audacity for a second. You're right in the middle of a massive, high-stakes FA Cup semifinal. The tension in the stadium is absolutely electric, and you're just sitting on the bench. Your manager looks over and tells you to go warm up. But instead of just jogging down the touchline, you rip off your tracksuit, march straight up to the fourth official, and literally sub yourself into the game. No permission, just action. Sounds like pure fiction, right? Well, it actually happened.
Welcome to this explainer. Today we're unpacking the incredible, action-packed career of a true Nigerian football icon. We're looking at a man whose raw power, undeniable charisma, and just unyielding determination perfectly defined a golden era of international football back in the 1990s. His name is Daniel Amokachi. But, to fans all around the world, he was known by a much more intimidating title.
Okay, let's dive into this. The Bull. Now that nickname wasn't just some catchy label. It was the ultimate definition of his playing style and his incredibly resilient character. Amokachi was a forward who didn't just run past defenders. He ran right through them. He had this immense physical strength, combined with a forceful personality that made him completely unstoppable on his best days. And that unstoppable drive wasn't just physical. As we'll see, it was a mindset that rocketed him from local Nigerian football all the way to the absolute pinnacle of the European game.
To really grasp the legend, we have to look at just how rapidly he rose to prominence. In 1989, Amokachi was playing for Ranchers Bees, which is a local Nigerian club, but honestly, his talent was way too explosive to stay hidden for long. He was discovered by the Nigerian national team coach at the time, Clemens Westerhoff. Recognizing his raw potential, Westerhoff brought this unproven but incredibly talented youngster to the 1990 African Nations Cup. And wow, that exposure was the spark. Almost immediately after, in 1990, Amokachi secured a totally life-changing move to Europe, signing with the Belgian side Club Brugge. So in just over a year, he went from domestic football straight onto the European stage.
Now, what's really interesting about this first milestone is that while performing wonderfully over in Belgium, Amokachi permanently etched his name into European football history. In 1992, the European Cup was rebranded into the new format we all know and love today, the UEFA Champions League. In the opening match of the group stage against CSKA Moscow, Daniel Amokachi scored. By securing that 1-0 win, he officially became the very first player to ever score a goal in the Champions League proper, a truly historic moment that announced his arrival to the continent. But, that historic goal was really just the beginning. His stellar club performances at Club Brugge naturally drew the eyes of larger European clubs, but it was his fantastic showing at the 1994 World Cup that really sealed the deal. Everton's manager at the time, Mike Walker, was entirely convinced by the Nigerian forward's power and potential. So in 1994, Walker brought Amokachi over to the Premier League for a massive fee of £3 million, which, to put into perspective, was around $4.7 million at the time. It was a huge statement signing for the Merseyside club.
Which brings us right back to that bizarre, unforgettable FA Cup semi-final in 1995 against Tottenham Hotspur. Let's walk through exactly how this crazy moment played out. First, Everton starting striker Paul Rideout goes down and needs treatment. Next, manager Joe Royal simply tells Amokachi to warm up just in case Rideouts can't continue. But here is where the Bull totally takes over. He takes matters into his own hands and literally substitutes himself into the match, completely ignoring the fact that his manager hadn't actually given the final signal. It's a moment of pure, forceful personality. And the crazy part? The result justifies the whole shebang. He goes on to score 2 goals, winning the game for Everton and sending them straight to the final.
And that wild self-substitution paid off in the ultimate way. Everton went on to win that 1995 FA Cup final. Now, even though Amokachi only appeared briefly late in the game as a sub, he completely stole the show afterward. He's remembered incredibly fondly by Everton fans for his iconic post-match celebration, proudly wearing a blue beret as he paraded the trophy around the pitch. It was a moment of pure joy that pretty much cemented his cult hero status at Goodison Park.
However, looking at the full picture of his time at Everton reveals a slightly more complicated reality. Because despite those FA Cup heroics, Amokachi fundamentally struggled to secure a regular starting spot in the first team. He found himself constantly competing against Paul Rideout and Duncan Ferguson, who were firmly established as Everton's 2 main strikers. He just couldn't quite make the consistent impact fans hoped for, though he did notably become the primary stand-in during the autumn of 1995, when Duncan Ferguson actually had to spend 6 weeks in prison for an off-pitch offense.
But hey, while his club career in England definitely had its ups and downs, his international career with Nigeria during this exact same period was nothing short of legendary. Let's shift our focus over to his absolute peak on the global stage. Between 1994 and 1996, he went on a phenomenal 3-year run. In 1994, he helped lead Nigeria to victory in the African Cup of Nations. That very same year, he made a sensational debut at the FIFA World Cup. And then, he capped the whole thing off in 1996 with an absolutely historic Olympic gold medal. He was essentially the driving engine of Nigeria's mid-90s golden era.
Let's look a bit closer at that 1994 World Cup run over in the United States, which formally introduced his raw power to the entire globe. Amokachi was clinical when it mattered most. Against Bulgaria, Nigeria secured a dominant 3-0 win, with Amokachi finding the back of the net. And he followed that right up against Greece in a 2-0 victory, scoring once again. You see, these weren't just goals. They were powerful statements that the Super Eagles, with the Bull leading the charge, were a totally formidable force on the world stage.
But without a doubt, the crowning international achievement of his career came 2 years later at the 1996 Olympic Games in Atlanta. The Nigerian men's football team captured the hearts of the world by winning the Olympic championship, and fittingly, Amokachi stepped up in the biggest moment possible. He scored a crucial goal in the dramatic, high-stakes final against a powerhouse Argentina squad, securing the gold medal for his country and immortalizing himself in Nigerian sports history forever. His impact on his country is absolutely undeniable, and this brilliantly illustrates his dedication. Across a near-decade-long international career spanning from 1990 to 1999, Daniel Amokachi earned 44 caps for the Super Eagles, scoring 13 goals. He represented his nation at 2 World Cups in 1994 and 1998, and left an enduring legacy as a winner and a true leader on the international pitch.
Returning back to his club career, let's ground his peak years in some hard data. If we compare his league goals across his 3 major European stints, his most prolific spell was clearly in Belgium with Club Brugge, where he netted 35 goals. Then, in Turkey with Besiktas, he scored a highly respectable 18 goals. Meanwhile, his time at Everton yielded 10 league goals. So, it's a clear reminder of exactly where he found his best rhythm and highest production. Speaking of his time in Turkey, his transfer to Besiktas in 1996 for £1.75 million opened up a whole new chapter. He didn't just score those 18 goals there, he achieved legendary cult hero status all over again. How? Well, by scoring Besiktas's historic 2000th Super League goal. It's almost poetic, isn't it? Just as he scored the first ever Champions League goal for Bruges, he etched his name into the milestone history books for Besiktas as well.
But tragically, the story of the Bull takes an abrupt halt here, showing how rapidly a world-class career can be derailed. Just ahead of the 1998 World Cup, Amokachi sustained a severe knee injury. He managed to play 1 match at that tournament, but struggled terribly with chronic knee problems ever after. After leaving Besiktas in 1999, his playing days effectively collapsed. He had contracts canceled at 1860 Munich and Tranmere Rovers after failing medical tests. He was signed by the Colorado Rapids over in the US, but was released for lack of fitness before playing a single match. He even tried to play in the UAE, but was again denied by his medical condition. The physical toll had finally caught up to his unstoppable drive.
Yet, what makes his story so incredibly compelling is that he didn't just walk away from the game. He successfully transitioned from a player whose career ended prematurely into a highly respected figure off the pitch. He moved into management, starting with Nigerian club Nasarawa United in 2006. By 2008, he was serving as the assistant coach for the Nigerian national team, guiding the next generation. And in a beautiful full-circle moment in 2020, he was officially named as Nigeria's football ambassador by the president. He truly reinvented himself into a respected elder statesman of the sport.
So we're left to look back at an incredible action-packed career that gave us the very first Champions League goal, an Olympic gold medal, and literally one of the most audacious substitutions in FA Cup history. But it also leaves us with a lingering thought to ponder. With his unmatched raw power and undeniable talent, what ultimate heights could the Bull have reached if chronic injuries hadn't blown the final whistle on his playing days far too early? It's a fascinating what-if in the archives of football history. Thank you for exploring this documentary-style journey with me today.